On a crisp October evening in 1993, the small town of Pine Hollow, nestled deep within Maine's dense forests, gathered at the annual Harvest Festival, a tradition as old as the town itself. Children laughed, couples swayed to a local band, and everyone indulged in cider and caramel apples. But as the festivities wound down and the crowds dispersed, one teenager didn't make it home. 16-year-old Emily Carter vanished without a trace. That night was the beginning of a nightmare from which Pine Hollow has never awoken. Welcome back to Chilling Mysteries, where we unravel the most haunting cases that continue to baffle investigators and send chills down the spine of entire communities. Today, we're delving into the story of a town haunted by a string of unsolved disappearances. Cases that have left families broken, fueled rumors of a hidden evil, and forced Pine Hollow's residents to question how well they really know their neighbors. Emily's disappearance triggered a panic that swept across Pine Hollow like wildfire. She was last seen by her friends, waving goodbye near the Old Mill Road, a shortcut she'd taken countless times. When her parents realized she wasn't home by midnight, they called the local police. Officers scoured the woods, volunteers combed the area for days, but there was no sign of Emily, no dropped belongings, no footprints, not even the sound of a struggle. It was as if she had been swallowed by the night. For months, posters bearing Emily's smiling face adorned every lamppost, bulletin board, and storefront. Tips flooded in, but none led to her. The town's sense of security was shattered. Parents stopped letting their children walk alone. People installed new locks and looked over their shoulders in the grocery store parking lot. But as time wore on and leads dried up, some quietly wondered, was Emily a runaway, or was something far darker at play in Pine Hollow? The Carter family's pain was only the beginning. Less than a year later, in July 1994, another resident disappeared. This time, it was Mark Ridley, a 27-year-old mechanic with no known enemies and a seemingly uneventful life. Mark finished his shift at the auto shop, grabbed a six-pack from the corner store, and headed home. He never made it. His truck was found on a deserted back road, keys still in the ignition. The driver's seat was pushed farther back than Mark would have needed, almost as if someone else had driven it last. Unlike Emily, Mark was an adult, but the similarities between the two disappearances were impossible to ignore. Both had vanished in broad daylight, with no witnesses, no evidence, and no clear motive. The local sheriff, John Ellison, publicly assured the town that the cases were unrelated, but behind closed doors, officers were growing concerned. Was Pine Hollow the hunting ground for a serial predator? Or was something else, something even more inexplicable, happening? As the months passed, rumors began to circulate. Some old-timers recalled the legend of the Pine Hollow Shadow, a sinister figure said to lure townsfolk into the woods, never to return. Others whispered about a secret society operating in the area, involved in occult rituals and human sacrifice. But the police were focused on the facts, and the facts were chilling enough. In less than a year, 2 people had disappeared without a trace, and the investigation was going nowhere. The FBI was called in, but they found no link to any known criminals, no ransom demands, no pattern matching other cases. The disappearances seemed almost surgical, precise, clean, and completely devoid of clues. Serial killers usually leave patterns, trophies, or taunting letters. Here, there was nothing. It was as if the victims had simply ceased to exist. For a while, things were quiet. Then, in the spring of 1996, the nightmare returned with the disappearance of Leah Martinez, a 35-year-old nurse and mother of 2. She left her shift at Pine Hollow General Hospital at 3 a.m., just as she had done for years. Her car was found on the side of the highway, purse on the passenger seat, driver's door ajar. Her phone, a flip model popular at the time, was dead. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses, and no one heard a thing. Not even the state patrol officer who drove by 15 minutes earlier. Investigators retraced Leah's steps, interviewed her coworkers, and checked security cameras. Nothing. Her husband and children were cleared, and she had no known personal or professional enemies. The only common denominator with the previous cases was the complete absence of evidence. It seemed impossible that 3 people could simply vanish from a town of less than 3,000, but that was Pine Hollow's new reality. By now, media attention had descended on the town. National news vans parked outside the sheriff's office. Journalists speculated about serial killers, cults, and even alien abductions. The town, once known for its close-knit charm and scenic beauty, was now synonymous with terror and loss. Residents grew suspicious of outsiders, and of each other. Every new face was scrutinized, every unfamiliar car was reported to police. Fear governed daily life. The pressure on law enforcement was immense. Sheriff Ellison doubled patrols, set up roadblocks, and even brought in criminal profilers. But the disappearances continued. Over the next 5 years, 2 more residents vanished. A retired teacher walking his dog in the woods, and a young waitress hitchhiking home after a late shift. Each case followed the same pattern: no evidence, no witnesses, no resolution. What made these disappearances so chilling wasn't just their number or frequency, it was the utter lack of any logical explanation. No bodies were ever found, no ransom notes, no confessions, no suspects. The town's isolation, once its greatest asset, had become its curse. The forests that surrounded Pine Hollow now felt ominous, as if harboring secrets the trees refused to give up. Desperate for answers, some families turned to private investigators. Others consulted psychics, hoping for a clue missed by traditional methods. One psychic, a woman named Celeste DeLuca, claimed the missing were trapped between worlds, and that the answer lay in the ruins of an old hunting lodge deep in the forest. Police searched the area, finding nothing but rotting wood and animal bones. As the years passed, the town changed. Families moved away, unable to live with the uncertainty. Businesses closed, tourism dried up, and the once thriving community shrank. The Carter family, still clinging to hope, kept Emily's room exactly as she'd left it. Leah Martinez's husband remarried but kept a candle burning for his missing wife every night. The missing were never forgotten, but their cases became part of the fabric of the town, a cautionary tale whispered to children, a source of endless speculation among locals. In 2004, a glimmer of hope emerged with the appointment of a new detective, Rachel Vance. Young, tenacious, and unburdened by the failures of past investigators, she vowed to crack the case. Rachel re-examined every file, every interview, every shred of evidence. She noticed something peculiar. All of the missing had, in the weeks before their disappearance, reported seeing a dark sedan idling near their homes or workplaces, a detail previously dismissed as coincidence. Rachel dug deeper into vehicle registrations, but the car's description was too vague. Witnesses disagreed on the model, and no one ever saw a license plate. Still, she canvassed the area, looking for similar reports. To her surprise, 2 more residents, both of whom had not disappeared, reported being followed by a dark car late at night. But when police set up surveillance, the car never reappeared. Rachel also uncovered another similarity. All the missing had visited the local diner within 48 hours of vanishing. The diner, a beloved institution in Pine Hollow, was owned by the friendly and unassuming Miller family. Interviews with staff and patrons turned up nothing suspicious. Security cameras had been broken for years, and the guest log was incomplete. Still, Rachel felt certain she was onto something. She pressed the Miller family for information, but they insisted they'd seen nothing unusual. Other employees offered only vague recollections. Without evidence, Rachel couldn't pursue the lead further. But she began to wonder, was the diner an innocent meeting place, or a hunting ground for a predator hiding in plain sight? The case took a shocking turn in 2007, when a hiker stumbled upon a shallow grave deep in the woods outside Pine Hollow. Inside were the remains of an adult male, later identified as Mark Ridley. The cause of death was never determined. The body had been buried with care, wrapped in a tarp, and covered in lye to speed decomposition. Dental records confirmed Mark's identity, but there were no clues about who had killed him or why. The discovery reignited the investigation. Police searched the surrounding area but found nothing else. Mark's family, while devastated, finally had some closure. For the other families, the pain of not knowing only deepened. If one body had been found after more than a decade, what about the others? Rachel Vance pushed harder, reopening every missing persons case. She cross-referenced phone records, credit card transactions, and even old utility bills. She found a disturbing pattern. Each victim had received a series of untraceable phone calls in the week before they vanished. The calls lasted only a few seconds, just long enough for static or silence. The numbers were burner phones, purchased with cash and discarded after use. Someone had been watching, waiting, and planning. Rachel's findings led to a new theory. The disappearances were the work of a single individual, someone who blended into the community, watched his victims, and struck with chilling precision. But who? And why? Despite the renewed efforts, no new evidence emerged. The town grew weary of false hope and sensational headlines. The disappearances became legend, the details morphing with each retelling. Some said the killer had moved on. Others believed he was still among them, biding his time. In 2012, the case took yet another turn. A woman named Stephanie Green, who had grown up in Pine Hollow but moved away after college, contacted the police with a disturbing story. She claimed that, in the months before Emily Carter's disappearance, she had been stalked by an unknown man. He'd left her threatening notes, followed her to work, and even broken into her apartment, though nothing was taken. Stephanie had reported the incidents to police, but no suspect was ever found. Stephanie provided police with a detailed description. A man in his 40s, average build, always wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. She remembered one detail that had stuck with her for years. The man had a distinctive limp. Rachel Vance checked medical records and found that only a handful of Pine Hollow residents matched the description, but none had criminal records. Still, it was the best lead they'd had in years. Rachel dug into old town records and discovered that a drifter named Frank Mallory, who had worked odd jobs in Pine Hollow during the early 90s, had a limp from a car accident. He had left town abruptly around the time of Emily's disappearance. Rachel tracked him to a small town in Vermont, but by the time police arrived, Frank had died of a heart attack. Any secrets he held died with him. Despite the dead end, Rachel refused to give up. She continued to sift through records, interview witnesses, and follow up on every tip. She even collaborated with forensic genealogists, who used familial DNA to test evidence found on Mark Ridley's clothing. But the sample was too degraded to yield results. The case once again grew cold. Today, the woods around Pine Hollow remain silent, haunted by the memories of those who vanished. The Carter family still places a fresh flower at the base of the old mill road every October. Leah Martinez's children, now adults, visit the highway where their mother's car was found, hoping for a sign. The town itself is quieter, the fear that once gripped every resident replaced by a grim resignation. What happened to Emily Carter, Leah Martinez, and the others who vanished from Pine Hollow? Was it the work of a cunning predator who moved among them unnoticed? Or was it a series of unrelated tragedies, woven together by fear and rumor? With every passing year, the answers grow more elusive. The files remain open, the families continue to hope, but the truth, whatever it is, remains just out of reach. Pine Hollow stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly safety can crumble, how easily the familiar can become terrifying. In towns across America, there are places like Pine Hollow, places where the missing are not forgotten, but whose stories echo through empty streets and darkened forests, waiting for the day someone finally uncovers the truth. If you have any information about the Pine Hollow disappearances, or if you simply want to help keep these stories alive, please share this video, subscribe to Chilling Mysteries, and join us as we continue to shine a light on the world's most haunting unsolved cases. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, sometimes, the scariest mysteries are the ones that happen in our own backyards.